Welcome back to round 2 of Team Envy versus Cloud9. Game number 1 went Team Envy's way to the surprise of a lot of fans, but they deserved it.
Yeah, and right now, Team Envy, like we said, one match behind Cloud9. If they win this, they're even in the standings with Cloud9 and tied for 4th place, which puts them in the top 5 in terms of, standings. And that's what Envy have been aiming for a while. You think about when they made playoffs previously, it was a 6th place team. So Envy are trying to, climb and improve on how they've played in the past.
Especially since right now, the conversation for the top of the table in Summer Split has been very interesting. Because at the start, we had 5 teams that were in there, right? You had Cloud9, TSM, CLG, Immortals, and Dignitas. And then Dignitas kind of fell out of it a bit. They racked up a lot of losses. They seemed to hit like a difficult point. So then you had 4 teams that were in there. Everybody said, okay, TSM, Cloud9, CLG, and Immortals. But now, if Cloud9 loses to Envy and all of a sudden they're tied for 4th, is that top 4 really sacred anymore? Is Envy in contention for it?
I don't think it's sacred anymore in the slightest. I think Dignitas, have been making some substitutions and could get up there. I think Envy have also been doing the same, getting used to their roster. And then there's Phoenix One as well, near the bottom of the standings right now, that could make a surge as well. So if you're in the top 4, you still aren't that safe.
Yeah, and that's what makes this so much fun to watch, because you do have this parity between the teams, because you do have these situations where a team that a lot of people underestimate and remember the performance from Spring Split, the 10th place finish, they're saying, is this the same team? Is this the same team that's coming in now and going up 1-0 over Cloud9 and potentially threatening to be tied with them for 4th in the standings?
But I also say that this team currently is a completely different looking team from the way it was before. Not only do you have, Pyrian / Nisqy in the mid lane, and Nisqy will be starting this game as well, you also have Apollo, who has been playing much better. The team has also kind of adapted to his style of split pushing and getting some extra side wave farm, as well as experience for himself, which puts him in a really good situation to team fight. And I was actually looking at the schedule from Envy, and they have actually not yet played Cloud9. So if they can 2-0 Cloud9 here, they will play Cloud9 later on this split, and that might be a really good way for them to pick up another win on top of that.
Right. If you can somehow crack the code, like we talked about last time, they shut Jensen down. They didn't let Jensen get going, whether it was the Corki pick or whether it was something else. They made it so that that star player, that big element in Cloud9, couldn't really shine. And if that's what you got to do to beat Cloud9, and Envy's figured that out, playing against them twice could be huge for playoff seeding and positioning.
Exactly. And then you could force Cloud9, which was the 2nd place team, 2 splits in a row, to fall down a little bit. And Cloud9, they've made changes constantly in terms of like the top lane subs back and forth. Even think about their roster in terms of bringing Contractz on to improve and be international contenders. Well, they went over to Rift Rivals and it was a 3-3. It wasn't exactly the performance that they were looking for. And now they're coming back. And if they're still struggling a little bit, especially against a team right below them in the standings, then it does raise, like I had said, like some questions about the team.
And talking about struggles, I want to talk about Impact again, because we mentioned during game number 1 how it seemed like he was doing well at the start. He had the CS lead. He had the first kill that Cloud9 actually had as a team. But then as the game went on, he just wasn't able to accomplish a lot.
Yeah, I feel like he gets out-pressured by the Shen, and they weren't able to make that first dive work because of the beautiful flash from Seraph in the outplay, as well as LirA coming up there and turning that around and forcing the Elise to back and change pretty much all her timers in the game. Means that you've really kind of disrupted the flow of that top lane. And then you saw where Seraph had kill potential like level 3, level 4 on Impact, and he had to back, teleport in. That means level 6, you don't have way to answer. And so there's all this pressure that's coming from the Shen double global, and it's one of the champions that's been banned against Envy quite frequently. Then, it's something that they do have to consider.
Let's take a look at how the draft plays out here for the 2nd time. Envy this time in the blue, Cloud9 in the red. Envy banning Kalista and LeBlanc at the start, as Cloud9 has to go ahead and do those always red side bans, the Zac, the Caitlyn, keeping those off.
Yeah, Galio is the other one that jumps up. Would they ban it away on Team Envy's side? You leave Syndra up. Jensen might want to... I feel like, okay, so the way I feel about Jensen is if a bad game happened and he couldn't affect it, next game, he'll try to play Orianna. It's like Orianna is that stable champion for him. And we'll see if that comes out here for Cloud9, because there's been times where they just pick it very early on, and they ban away the Syndra here, so Galio on the table, but I don't know if either team really wants that early.
Well, Envy's deciding they're going to go ahead and grab that Thresh for Hakuho, knowing that he's capable of making plays with that champion. We saw him do it before. We saw him do it just last game, and they want to see him do it again.
And they want to take away the Xayah and make sure they don't have that combo there, that they can just go for a Xayah plus a Thresh, which they had just used literally the last game.
Very fast lock-ins from Cloud9, honestly, grabbing not only the Xayah, but the Rek'Sai for Contractz in the jungle as well. We've seen Rek'Sai come into a lot of popularity recently since the buffs after her mini rework. Problem is, the win rate for this champion in LCS is actually hilariously low.
Yeah, it kind of gets destroyed by a whole bunch of things in the jungle, and now the tank build, I would say, is pretty mediocre in the late game. The damage build with Warrior into whatever you want to get next, sometimes Black Cleaver and stuff like that, that's the snowball build. That's the one where you put points in E and you're just ready to go. But looks like Cloud9, yeah, they are going to ban the Shen away in the second phase, like I had thought up against Seraph.
Very, very smart. Cloud9 does go with the Lover's Lane, picking Rakan along with the Xayah, so they'll have that extra synergy between the two champions. As Team Envy grabs themselves Nidalee and Ashe. LirA, one of the few players that we saw playing Nidalee when nobody else was touching it.
Yeah, he played a Fervor Nidalee. He played a Nidalee with just Thunderlord, so he's gone back and forth. But really just an outstanding player who can play pretty much all those carry junglers and do a good job on them. But now he's back on that type of champion, and we'll see what he does, because now the game isn't get your lanes ahead, it's have a LirA performance.
And both sides still have solo laners to draft in the second part of the drafting phase. With Shen banned out by Cloud9, Envy responds by taking Ori off the table, recognizing kind of what you were talking about. This is a go-to staple champ for Jensen. It's also one that's completely autonomous in terms of the plays it can make. It doesn't need the team to set it up like the Corki would. You can just outplay people left and right on Orianna if you're good enough at the champion, and Jensen is. Not surprised to see that banned away. Cloud9 removes Lucian as well.
Well, also on red side for Cloud9, if they take it in that first pick second phase or second round, they would be able to counter pick top lane up against Seraph, which is kind of what you want here. If you could get a neutral mid laner, then you'd be in a very good spot to counter Seraph and make sure that you have a good position. And they're going to go with exactly that, I believe.
Yep, Taliyah is about the most neutral option left, considering the Orianna has been banned away, so Cloud9 will lock that one in for Jensen. And now Envy has to pick up both those solo lanes. Again, you know the Taliyah, you know what you're picking into, but the blind for Seraph means that they've got to be careful about not putting him in a situation that he might end up in too bad of a spot.
Yeah. So for Nisqy, could be Cassiopeia, could be Corki himself, could be Galio. They could go for Jarvan Galio. But it's just going to be the Jarvan Cassio. All right, so like I said, Cassiopeia is kind of the one that I thought of first. And the Jarvan here as just an engaged top laner. And I like this because it gives them a way to actually start fights. If you had something else in that top lane, then it becomes a little bit more difficult. And Galio makes sense to me.
Yeah. It's gone this far through the draft, made it all the way to the 10th pick, but... Okay, going with the Gnar instead. Been very strong on patch 7.13. Been seeing a lot of play across all regions after the buffs. Not surprised to see it here.
Yeah, I feel like I need to kind of transition my instant reaction to seeing Galio. He's actually much more frequently played in the mid lane now since the nerfs, especially since he lost like 3 armor at level 1. Actually makes a pretty big difference, and you can't triple stack Dorans, and you can't also just wave clear with the base damage of his Q now. So it's a very different champion. Pretty much played primarily in the mid lane. I feel like the statistics in terms of the distribution of how often he's played in different lanes is now like 80% mid. Very rarely that 20% played in the top lane.
You know what I really like about the comparison between these two teams, Irene, is that both sides have so many ways to get into the action. You can start things off with a Jarvan combo, or an Ashe arrow, or a pick from Hakuho on the side of Envy, or if you're Cloud9, you can get that Rek'Sai knock-up, or a seismic shove coming out from Taliyah, the big Rakan wombo combo from Smoothie, or even just the Gnar going in there with the Mega Gnar ulti. Both sides have so many ways to pull the trigger. This should be an action-packed game.
Yeah, Team Envy have a really good pattern of trying to go in with Ashe arrow or Jarvan, and then trying to kite backwards with Cassiopeia. So Cloud9, they have to kind of be a little hesitant if they engage or disengage, but it's the same thing for Team Envy. If you engage onto this Xayah, then you're in a situation where she's stronger because she gets the kite back. You have to do it very quickly, but I would put the scaling advantage slightly in favor of Envy here because of the fact that they have that Cassiopeia.
And especially because, remember, there's the bonus synergies between Xayah and Rakan. Rakan's off-screen initiation potential is there now. He's got that 1,000 range, or as you've told me before, actually 1,100 because he dashes to the other side of her. dash towards Xayah, and then immediately dashing into the fight with the charm into the grand entrance.
Yeah, it's super fast, and Smoothie and Nisqy have been on the receiving end of it back in week 1 and week 2 from Afro move, and then Smoothie was very quick to try and pick up the Rakan himself. And it looks like adaptation as well, going for the Talisman, as opposed to we've seen kind of Spell Thieves, we've seen back and forth, but making sure that he can get the Talisman of Ascension, which will actually increase the range of his engage slightly, the speed at which he comes through.
You know, I don't think I've ever actually seen in pro play, if a team drafts Xayah and Rakan together, they have never mismatched the skins. There's nobody that's ever like, I want to use the Xayah skin, but my support doesn't want to use the Rakan skin. As Apollo, taking some damage here.
The level 1 does so much.
Yeah, because you start with the W, making sure that they both get the enchant from it. One of the synergies of picking them both together.
Yeah, the Deadly Plume is making sure that he's in a good spot. But yeah, that was actually really well played there from Smoothie. Because that was blind, to my knowledge. They didn't have a ward down. I don't believe they had seen Apollo pretty much at all. But they walked up around. Then they barely spotted him, I think, as they came around the corner. Just because he spotted them and just ran away. Because they had hugged the wall. But they got a decent amount of damage, sent him back. And it gave him that ward on the bottom side of the map. But that's about it that you get for Cloud9.
Yeah, it doesn't result in a whole lot. They may try to steal away some of these chickens, though.
Yeah, he wants to get level 2 off the small ones. And they need to hit that one. Oh, they are going to stop it.
One chicken denies it off the small ones. 2 chickens denies it completely.
Oh, whoa.
Nisqy gets himself exhausted. Hakuho and Apollo playing this very far forward. Smoothie and Nisqy are actually very, very low.
Hakuho by himself here.
Hakuho does not have his AD carry.
It's actually 2v1. What are you doing?
1 versus 2.
Wait,
Apollo's coming around from behind.
Yeah,
they're setting this up.
Is he baiting?
He's trying to bait this spectacularly. The play onto 2, flashing backwards, trying to stay alive. Apollo, point blank range, putting damage into Smoothie. Nisqy as well. LirA working his way towards this fight. Level 2 on the Nidalee. The spear going to be sidestepped. They won't be able to take this one any further.
Man, Hakuho, being a Haku bro there, just making sure I'm going to just bait them all the way around. And then that ended up being a pincer that C9 got trapped into. Ends up being 3 summoner spells for 3, but if you are going to count the one in mid lane, it's big 2 because Nisqy blew his own ghost. But LirA got his route put behind a little bit, but it puts him right back on track to take this bottom side because they have priority there.
I feel like I've never seen that before, where the support just walks up like that and threatens 1 versus 2 as Contractz now going to be visited by Seraph as he tries to steal away that blue buff. Who's going to get it?
Both smite it, yeah.
It's okay. Contractz just going to go ahead, pop the smite.
Slows him down, though, but I feel like this is a game of laners are losing CS. You're losing everything.
Yup. LirA stealing away that Gromp.
Yeah. Seraph just lost a whole bunch of HP. He's on top side. He's losing CS to this Gnar.
Contractz is just trying to stop him and harass him as much as he can. LirA doing the same thing bottom side.
Yep, interrupt again.
Smoothie can't quite find the knock-up onto LirA as he uses the Blast Cone to get himself away over that wall. The counter jungling between the two, they've just swapped junglers.
Yeah. What?
Okay.
All right. He stopped.
Scared him off the Gromp.
Like, really?
Get away from my frog.
This is a crazy
That's my
game.
frog. Seraph will try to stop this, but the problem is, now he's got to get back to the safety of his turret, and he still might die. He's level 2. Trying to flash away. The tower aggro is taken by Impact, who then jumps away, and first blood goes to Cloud9.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. That was a fiesta.
That was a mess.
That was insane. What was going on there? That was, okay. So he TP's back to the ward.
Gromp.
Yeah, he saved the Gromp. Yeah, true. Now LirA's fed. He's gonna get all the experience up here. And he's still level 2, and he has EQ, no W. Impact shoves the wave up. He's 2 levels up. Like, this is a top laner that is 3 levels down overall in this dive here. Blows his flash, blew his TP, and now he's going to miss so much CS to that top side. It is brutal. Like, I was about to talk about the bottom lane before all of that happened, where Nisqy was down already 10 CS, and Apollo was like 14-1 in terms of CS in the bottom side because of the play that Envy had made. But now I feel like Cloud9 just have way more pressure on the top side of the map now with their flashes up and Seraph's is down.
When I said I think this is going to be a fun game full of action, I didn't mean from the minute-and-a-half mark onward. I figured we would at least have a little bit of a slow build-up, but not today, not between these two teams. LirA farming up very quickly on this Nidalee, something that, with Nidalee out of the meta for a while, a lot of people forgot how effective that is, but Impact is just not letting Seraph play the game anymore.
He just like, I don't know what... Okay, he flashed on him, just because he's like, I don't need this spell.
He's like, you know what?
Right on
I'm
top.
going to use this just to prove a point.
Yeah, that was actually a ridiculous flash. Just blew an advantage there. And he was close to transforming, so maybe that's what he was going for.
Maybe
like
he was
flash
trying to.
W.
Maybe he was trying. Wait, what button does he have it on? Okay, he has it on D. Maybe he was trying to do slash dance, but he didn't have the chat window
Nobody
open.
actually types slash dance.
Some people still do.
So you gotta hit your control and your 3 and your 4.
Maybe he has it actually hotkeyed to control D, and he forgot to press control.
Awful hot.
Yeah, it's terrible, but I mean, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
You wanna know about a good hotkey though?
Ooh, what's that?
So there's the target champions only button in our game. It's usually bound to tilde. It's mostly for making sure that you are only hitting champions, right? But Huni, who used to play for Immortals and Fnatic and now plays on SKT, he actually has it bound to spacebar. So when he turret dives, he just holds spacebar. So he never hits the turret when he's diving.
So he only hits the enemy champion, and they can't juke him behind the turret.
It's a big paradigm shift because hitting like most people that have it bound to a button, it's just kind of out of the way. It's like, oh, I gotta hit like F or like hold R or something like that, or like T. But now having it on spacebar, what people usually use for locked camera, interesting. But hold on, Jensen, 6.
Jensen riding the Weaver's wall on top of Seraph, and they take him down for the second time this game.
Yeah, it looks like C9 are targeting Seraph only. Don't know if there's a button for that, but they're just gonna go after this top lane. Here comes Nisqy and LirA from the backside though.
Jensen low on mana.
This is a bold 2-on-3.
Cassio does have level 6, but you pretty much have to get a 3-man stun to win this one.
Yes, I completely agree. But they do push them away from the turret, and it's exactly what they should do with their pressure. But top lane, it has just been rough city for Seraph. Down 2 levels, 2 deaths, 20 CS.
Yeah, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for Seraph in that top lane, and he's going to have a ways to go before he becomes useful again. Meanwhile, impact on the Gnar.
And my favorite thing about this is, in game 1, Seraph outplayed by being the level 2 Shen and flashing to the other side. There's a world where that dive goes horribly wrong, or he blows his flash and still dies, and then the game looks completely different. The butterfly affected that dive.
Right.
This is kind of what it looks like on the opposite side, where that happens. He blows his flash, still dies. Now they're going to repeat gank it, keep going for it. And that's kind of like the big difference of, we talked about Seraph did a great job in the first game. It's that one moment that starts that snowball. And this is what it looks like on the opposite side. Contract's going to revisit.
Yep, walks on top of a ward, so Seraph decides to back himself up. Hook comes out, finds his way onto Smoothie, who now decides to engage. So LirA's coming in from the side, seeing if he can land that spear. Sneaky just keeps running and gets himself away from it. Apollo, the one who actually suffers the most damage of anyone in that.
And it's been bad for Seraph here, because he's just trying to help his jungler out. As a jungler, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
but it ends up putting him so far behind.
I feel like at this point, he's just so zoned away by the Gnar, he's just thinking, I can't do anything else, I may as well try to save the blue. Problem is he can't do that either, well, because he's lower level than Contractz.
Exactly, put pressure on it, because he's going to lose this top turret. Nice flash.
Flashing away from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to keep himself alive.
And I like
Good
that.
job there.
Oh, hook?
But now the hook.
Now they can't do it.
Nope. Another dash away to safety, but this is first turret blood.
Is it? Nope.
No, it's not. Caster Curse. Darn you. I thought for sure I had it, Cyrene. It was right there in my hand.
Quick, who's gonna get a Grom?
Oh, too slow. Too slow. Oh well, Nisqy in the mid lane though, forced underneath the turret right now by the Taliyah. These two are just blow for blow in terms of farm as well. Very close matchup here.
Yeah, which is a testament to Nisqy as well. Jensen has been roaming a bit on this Taliyah, so kind of goes without saying. Bottom lane though, looks like Root, knock up.
Oh, Lantern! Nope. Sneaky's got that one last hit. Apollo dies mid-flight.
Yeah, Smoothie didn't even have to use the ultimate there. Didn't really matter. Top lane though, 3-man dive. Jensen not going to set up his wall.
This game is completely different from game number 1.
Yes, and it's just the small things. Nisqy though.
Self hit by the knockup, decides to go back in. Petrifying Gaze comes out, and they'll actually punish Contractz here. The cavalry arrives, and Envy punish that invade.
Yeah, Contractz finally gets punished for his invade. He's gone back and forth on it over and over again. LirA's gonna put him in the pit though. He hits the Rift Herald.
There goes the Rift Herald. It'll headbutt him. Charges forward. Impact makes his way towards this fight, so buys enough time for Jensen to escape. Seraph does have level 6 now. So,
yeah, he used the ultimate. He's 2 levels down still, and it's a little bit of a longer lane, but Impact almost has double his CS right now. It's pretty rough on that top side of the map.
Seraph has less farm than both junglers.
Yep.
That feels bad, man.
Very much so. But Nisqy plays this well. Hakuho, there's obviously a call to go in because Hakuho started walking back after Lantern and went, wait a second, as Seraph came in from the other side, and that's exactly what they needed to get something back there and get Seraph a kill, because now only 1 level down, but he's not really equipped to deal with another dive. Here, yep, all right. Avert your eyes, children.
Yeah, just look away, chat. Audience, everybody, it's not going to be a pretty one. Seraph gets jumped on, boomeranged, he'll be knocked up into the air just momentarily. Impact will just stay permanently hasted from those hyper procs. Flag and drag doesn't even get to come out. Impact grabs himself his first kill and puts another death on the Seraph.
Yeah, you want to shove it all the way to the turret so that it bounces and that it comes back to you. Otherwise, it can get frozen there and you go down even further in CS. But he doesn't have the jungler on his side of the map. He doesn't have the help. And now on bottom side, Arrow.
Got him! Wow, right as he lands. But the knockup coming out from the Rakan to keep Sneaky safe, if only for a moment. LirA grabbing the kill credit on that one, as Smoothie has to flash out to stay alive. The return kill from Impact onto Hakuho, as Jensen escapes over the wall barely with his own life.
Yeah, the way that the ultimate works from the Xayah is, hold on, Contractz looking for Seraph though.
He'll find him, but he's not doing anything with it.
Yeah, the way that it works on Xayah is you're untargetable as soon as you press the button and leave the ground, but then you push the feathers out, and then when you regain control of your character in terms of you can use other abilities and she starts coming down, she is once again targetable, and the arrow hit right then.
As he was starting to fall is when the target frame comes back to being able to be hit.
Yeah, and now, yeah, as soon as she hits the top, the peak of her jump, and then comes down, the momentum changes, that's when she's targetable again, and it just barely hit there. And then Impact comes in, turns it around. LirA has to now kind of get out of this fight.
And honestly, that could have gone a lot worse for Cloud9 too. They barely got both their support and mid laner out of there. Very fortunate for them that they had those summoner spells up. They were able to sort of staunch that bleeding.
Yeah, and we saw them kind of staunch bleeding as well earlier, where Apollo was up about 20 CS in the bottom side of the map, and that's when they got the kill on him with the route into Smoothie using the Grand Entrance. That was what got them back to even, and then this kill once again puts Apollo up about 12 CS himself.
Rod of Ages completed on that Cassiopeia mid lane. I think it was you I was actually talking about this to the other day when we were discussing item efficiencies. Rod of Ages is really good, but it's almost as good as finding a point-blank stun onto your opponent. Smoothie grounded, the poison coming out, but they can't quite get the kill.
That was a big misclick there, actually, from Nisqy. He used the ultimate the wrong way, and there was nobody approaching him from the backside. It was actually just LirA, his own teammate, so definitely on this play there from Nisqy. Too many inputs.
You hate to see those.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Cloud9 fan, then you really like to see those.
I always feel like if I'm a fan of a team and they win because somebody did something like that, I'm just like, I'll take it, but I'm not proud of it.
I've seen some pretty crazy fans out there that are just like, oh, a meteor hit the other side of the stage. It's okay, my team won.
Those are those diehard fans.
Yeah. Some fans are crazy, man.
I love them, though. I love all of them.
Yeah, dude. That's what makes it fun. Thank you, audience. I almost called you guys chat because I'm so used to watching Twitch chat, but you're like, IRL
You're in the
chat.
LCS now, Flower.
Yeah, we made it, boys. We're living the dream. As Cloud9 invades enemy territory again, 3 men strong. Seeing if maybe they can find an opportunity here. Look for a pick. But it looks like it's going to come up shy. Nothing so far. Still 1,000 gold ahead as they pressure onto the tier 1.
Yeah, no. Large advantage here in terms of the pressure game. Impact flanking from the side, almost transforming, so he can actually bully Seraph here.
Seraph gets himself out.
Get a lot of turret damage. Apollo looking for an arrow from the side, and Sneaky kind of caught in rotation. Ooh, nice from Hakuho.
Good job from Sneaky, making sure that he stayed just out of range too. Maximum distance between himself and his opponent.
Yeah.
But look at the item difference right now, Zyrene, between Impact and Seraph. You've got a couple little pieces of, okay, it turns into a Tiamat right as I say it, but it was a couple of long swords and a ruby crystal versus a full black cleaver. That's the difference between the amount of resources that have been invested in this top lane by Cloud9 over and over and over again with those repeat visits.
Yeah, usually as Jarvan, you want to get a phage into a Tiamat and then complete the black cleaver. instead of go full Black Cleaver, because the CDR doesn't mean as much for him as much as you need to be able to wave clear, and once you get Tiamat, all it does is it takes a Q plus a Tiamat activatable, and that's when you can just end up clearing the whole wave. So you want that, and because we've seen him kind of be sluggish in how quickly he clears the wave out, it becomes much easier for him to just end up executing on that and frees you up to go across the map.
Nisqy continuing to farm here mid lane. Got the ultimate backup available again. Flash will be up momentarily. Jensen can say the same thing. Smoothies is already back up thanks to Mastery and Ionian cooldown boots. Drake still alive. This is a comparison that I always like to keep my eye on.
Cloud Drake?
When you have the Cloud Drake first as opposed to either a Mountain or an Infernal. Infernals usually go before 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Mountains usually go sometime between 10 and 15. And Clouds goes sometime when Wolves aren't up.
See,
because teams would rather grab the Wolves.
I like you, Flowers. You're on the same train as me, where I see a Cloud Drake, the effect is all right, but I'm not going to trade that thing for pressure anywhere. No, I don't think so.
You know what I used to be willing to trade it for, though? Was back when you got 3 of them and it gave you the blue effect behind
the blue
the character.
Effect.
Yeah, that's what made it better than Infernal Drake.
The blue Dead Man's Plate effect. Yeah. I wish that they had kept that effect and just made it grow with every Cloud Drake you have.
That would make it worth getting.
Yeah, first time I saw that, I was like, what is this goo?
Hook out on the Smoothie. Hakuho always looking for those chances, but he's going to find himself caught out now as Cloud9 makes the collapse. Damage coming through. Box thrown out defensively. Into the back line goes Contractz, but exhausted. He may now be the one who's punished too far into the fight. The damage continuing to come through as Nisqy's off to the side, going to be keeping himself alive. A nice miasma to hold down Cloud9. The Cataclysm will be jumped away from as Cloud9 loses 1 off of that engage.
And this is a 1 for 0, but they have healthier members already in the mid lane now, and they're going to get that turret.
So 1 for turret, still a favorable trade for Cloud9. They've got Gnar available with a flash. They could still want to fight.
Yeah, and LirA's in like the weirdest position, taking the Gromp. This puts him in a flank area where if somebody is just kind of not watching their feet or the area, he hasn't been spotted in a good while here. Yeah.
Could just walk through this river and face check there. He's dead. He just walks over the trap, gets the mark on him.
It's
Curving the bullet like Angelina.
Impact got interrupted. Yep. Dude, that's 2 for
double
LirA.
kill.
So Seraph gets pressure top. He's back in this game very heavily now. Gets to push all the way to that turret and deny some farm. And this means that the Cloud Drake now gets to go over because there's nothing else that they're giving up for this.
LirA with the setup exactly the way his team needed it. That will reward them with that first Cloud Drake.
Yeah.
Tie this game up 5-5. And what looked like a Cloud9 stomp early on in this game is now just back to neck and neck.
And that's one of the things where, like, when we talk about, people's pathing is so good in the jungle, right? It's not always about, they clear efficiently or they're really good about their economy of moving throughout the jungle. It's what are they doing that is unexpected, where people will avoid wards. LirA kept his uptime in the jungle by going to the right side of the jungle and making sure that he clears out the Gromp. And then what's the probability that LirA is on our side of the map and the bottom side? That's just insane that he would be there. And Sneaky, he steps on the trap, gets just completely outplayed here. Oh! It whips. All right, so
I told you it was curved.
But the way that remember I was telling you about this, and you brought it up earlier as well, the great spear there again from LirA, is that the E, the battle dance from Rakan, puts you on the other side of the person. So it makes it easier to engage, so that if you're going to somebody who's on the front line, you get to go on the other side of them so you can increase your range, or disengage, so if you're trying to get out, you go on the other side of the guy and they become your shield as you're retreating. And that's exactly what happened, is the Rakan went to the other side of the Xayah there, so Sneaky had the hitbox that was closer to the spear.
So the battle dance is fantastic if you're trying to run away or if you're trying to engage. It's not bad for blocking.
Yeah.
But now Sneaky and Contractz have got themselves the opportunity to put some real damage into this tier 2 bottom side. It might just be their 4th turret of the game.
Yeah, but what happened here is Envy did it again. They're trading tier 2 bot for Rift Herald, which now LirA has, and that top turret and Apollo getting solo experience. And now they have to back. They have to protect this because Cloud9 have called the bluff. Last time they said, you didn't actually have enough to defend a complete push.
Cloud9 has all 5 bottom. Cataclysm comes out, used to hold down Contractz, if only for a moment. They will get the kill on him, and now the counterattack from Envy. They've got to find something for
Jensen
losing that
for a
tier
wall.
3.
He is.
Wall comes out. There comes the initiation from Smoothie, trying to grab the combo. The kill comes out already onto Hakuho. Seraph still blocked off on the other side of the wall. Nisqy and LirA alive. 4 versus 4. Contractz and Hakuho both out of the picture. Apollo topside cannot participate in this fight. Arrow had already been fired off.
Yeah, they want to interrupt some of those backs, but don't think they'll be able to get Sneaky and Smoothie here as they'll back in tandem. And now they'll push up mid-wave and try to get this turret as well as damage on this top one and have an answer.
Great call there from Cloud9 to push for that tier 3, knowing they could get it, knowing what Envy's game plan was from game number 1.
Yeah, but this ends up going to be that tier 1 turret going to drop here and damage on that tier 2 top. So let's see how far they try to push this one.
Watching those tower chunks is so satisfying.
Yeah. One of these days, I'll learn and take the time to figure out exactly how much damage the Rift Herald does to these turrets, because it's based off of her HP. It's like,
when she's full HP, it's like 45%.
Yeah, it's exactly right, but there's an exact number
There's
of a
some
percentage.
sort of exact percent that we don't know.
But the question is, does the Rift Herald HP change based on game time? So, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of think emojis in this one.
Yeah, gotta look that up.
Either way,
Educate myself. Anyway,
Envy's still in a very close game. Despite the fact that they lost their bottom lane tier 3, the gold is 300 gold apart.
Yeah.
500 now.
Exactly. Meanwhile, though, top lane, we do have Sneaky pushing that in, trying to match what Apollo's been doing. And I like the adaptation because this is not how Cloud9 normally do things, because usually it's Jensen in the side lane getting all that extra farm, right? It's one of the reasons that we see him have such incredible farm numbers later is that he gets most of the farm when the team is grouped. But they're trying to make it so that that doesn't happen again, where Apollo is 2 levels up over Sneaky, and you're having these team fights with the disadvantage. But look at this Hakuho into an arrow.
Hook into the arrow, but he already had the tunnel buffered. Contractz with the escape.
Yep, does have to blow the flash, though, after the Cataclysm, so a repeat catch would be beneficial. But yeah, this game is neck and neck, and this is kind of not what fans were expecting coming into the day after Cloud9 got some experience at Rift Rivals, and then, well, kind of just thinking about like the Cloud9 name, right? Like the brand name holds a lot in people's minds in terms of they've won splits in the past. They've been second 2 times in a row. So there's a lot of like power behind just, you know, having a Cloud9 tag. But they are 6-4 right now. They're only 1 match ahead of Envy, and Smoothie missed.
Smoothie doesn't land his combo, and that is a huge tool to not have available for the next fight.
I mean, I said miss there, but I actually feel like LirA just sidestepped that beautifully.
LirA's got jukes.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both.
Now what else can they do? Apollo eats a lot of damage there.
Blows the heal, too.
Well, so they may have lost the Rakan ult on the side of Cloud9, but the heal down on Envy means still a good trade for them. And talking about what you were mentioning on Cloud9, how it's a big brand name, how this name has weight behind it. Remember that these guys beat TSM before Rift Rivals as well.
Yeah. And everybody was like, oh, they're back, right? Because we were talking about how they had a slow start, kind of a rough start, beat TSM right before Rift Rivals, and it was like, okay, looking pretty good right now. We'll see what happens. Went over 3-3 against the European teams, the worst performing NA team out of the 3 that went. And now they're coming back, and this Envy squad seems to have a little bit of their number here. But let's watch this again. Let's just bask in, you know, the glory of LirA. He walks to the side, and then Hakuho. Just the synergy between these 2 guys, I think, is incredibly understated. I think Hakuho, LirA have some of the best jungle support synergy in the league in terms of how they're on the same page with their playmaking.
And jungle and support isn't a synergy that you always think about either. A lot of times when you're talking about synergy between roles and players, it's mid-jungle or AD carry support.
It's like the carries kind of go around, but I talk about jungle and support when it comes to warding and having like a ward group, but this is like a pick group. They consistently have the highest kill participation on the team. Fight break
down, and Sneaky is caught. The miasma is down, and he is gone. Nisqy grabbing the kill credit on that one as Cloud9 tries to turn the fight around. Seraph taken low, but not taken down just yet. Jensen going to be the target as LirA jumps in, but cannot secure the kill. The flash away will keep the Cloud9 mid laner alive as Nisqy looks to sink his fangs into impact. The Noxious Blast finds its mark. A little bit more damage will do it, and Nisqy gets the kill. That is a 3-for-0 for Envy.
Is that a Baron? Seraph's going to TP in, and they have the Cassiopeia with full mana. They're going to try for this Baron here.
Contractz has to be some kind of a hero if Cloud9 wants to take it away, or they may just concede it and go for Infernal Drake instead.
They'll go for the Infernal Drake. They'll kind of cut their losses there. They saw that it got started up, and they don't want to take the higher probability split. Okay.
What the? Okay. Baron sat there for 40 HP for so long.
Oh, they were kind of a bit.
Hakuho.
Interesting.
Good hook there onto Contractz, stopping Cloud9 from getting away with this Infernal take. But now, are they biting off more than they can chew? Hakuho eating a lot of damage from this. Contractz taken low, but not taken down. Yet the arrow comes through. Hakuho with the flash over the wall. Infernal Drake still being attempted by Cloud9, and Envy ends up just suiciding their mid laner.
That was Envy actually not bringing enough people there. So what happened was Envy delayed the Baron dying intentionally. People ran away so that they could get to the Infernal Drake. And Seraph gonna die here because Frozen Mallet's an item.
Yep. Fun times against Frozen Mallet, Gnar.
Yep, once you get hit once, mistakes already been made. But yes, the intention, we'll talk about it after this. Great grounded effect from Nisqy, making sure that Sneaky can't really get out of that either, despite having his flash available. So it was Seraph's ultimate on top of that, so you're really kind of stuck inside of that Cataclysm. And Seraph lives here, which is important for them to get the Baron, because they need that tank alive. You'll back, and then you'll reset, and then they kill Impact. But the big thing on the Baron was it was left at low HP because the AD carry and the mid laner ran away from it, so there's lower DPS. But also, if you're Cloud9, you kind of have an internal timer of the Baron just went down and the Cry went out. This is how much time we have to do to this Drake. And so they waited on it until their AD carry and mid were kind of near the mid lane, killed it, the Cry goes out, if you think you have a little more time as C9, then they all come running in. But I do feel like LirA misplayed that. He went for jungle warding instead of trying to contest the Infernal Drake. If he had been there, it would have been a little bit of a different fight.
Envy's still up 1,500 gold, but having lost the Baron buff on their split push top laner, having lost the Baron buff on their mid laner, things aren't quite as good as they could be without those mistakes. And although Envy is still improving as a team, although we've talked about how far they've come from their performance in Spring Split, it's calls like that and decisions like that that explain what the team still has to work on before they become a top contender.
Exactly. It's a lot of, once they get a lead, and Envy have had early game leads all the time, it's that 20-minute plus decision making, which, how are you allocating your resources? Because that was a play that actually would have been really good if both Seraph and LirA had traveled to the Infernal Drake afterwards, but Seraph went top to shove and try to get the tier 2 top turret, and LirA went for jungle warding. If all 4 members had gone,
it's a bit too greedy.
Exactly. Well, it's kind of mixed calls, right? You're trying to get everything, right? So yeah, greedy, I guess, would be the right term there, where you're trying to kind of get the top turret, get the wards, and get that bottom Infernal Drake.
Envy now trying to use the last 45 seconds of this Baron buff to get themselves some kind of objective gain. They're still down 1 turret compared to Cloud9. Picking up some of that standing gold would help build them an even greater advantage, as they do quite a lot of damage pretty rapidly if they get some firing time on this.
Yeah, and this is interesting because LirA has the Rylai's Crystal Scepter, so he'll actually slow with his Spear and the Runic Echoes proc. So he'll have an AoE slow when he just jumps in, or when he pokes.
Nisqy fortunate enough to steal that blue buff away as well, keeping that off of Jensen and giving himself more mana regeneration to spam to his heart's content. Hakuho clears out some of the wards. This is such a dangerous turret to normally try to defend, just because of how easy it can be to get flanked and being stuck in this narrow corridor.
Smoothie going in, now they're starting off. The wall comes through, Smoothie goes in, the stuns come out, the arrow is returned onto the Gnar, as the stuns are there long enough to knock him down and take him out. Contractz in retreat, Smoothie too. Sneaky has to fall back below half HP, and Envy continues the assault. Yeah. Smoothie went in, but they're the ones who end up losing impact. They tried to pull the trigger on the engage, but it just ends up backfiring there, and that's the beauty of the composition. When I talk about champions, like, it's so good at kiting backwards with the Cassiopeia. The scaling is in their favor. They have 2 Rod of Ages, which you talked about the gold efficiency. 97% gold efficient when you first buy it, ends up being 150% efficient if it gets to 10 stacks, and they're both at 10 stacks. They're both kind of rolling in that gold right now.
And Impact didn't get to ult. Yeah. Despite the fact that you saw Mega Gnar on the front lines next to a wall, he didn't get to ult. That's how hard he was CC chained. It just looks like one of those situations where C9 will win a fight here by having a really swift engage, but do they have enough damage to kill this Cassiopeia that now has a Rod of Ages that's fully stacked, as well as a Seraph's Embrace? And you'll see here, just almost, you're waiting for that Gnar ulti, you're waiting for it. Impact, where's the Gnar ulti? Gets knocked up, gets stunned by the Cassiopeia ulti afterwards. Never got the chance, like you said. Could have been able to lock up Apollo, and then there may have been some follow-up from the team. And the miasma zoning tool was just fantastic from Nisqy there as well, blocking off the entirety of the lane to the right of the turret. Made it very hard for Cloud9 to position in that fight. 3,000 gold on the Baron power play for Team Envy. Would have been a little bit higher if not for the mistakes immediately after it, but still a solid haul to take away from that. Infernal Drake spawning in a bit over a minute. Baron spawning in just under 2. Means there's going to be quite a couple, well, not quite a couple, but a couple neutral objectives to contest here for both these teams soon. Do you actually take the fight for Infernal Drake, though, if you're Cloud9? Is that worth fighting for? Do you feel like you can take that fight?
If you're Cloud9, I'm trying to think of the situation that they're in right now. I feel like you have to be opportunistic and find if Envy make a mistake, because otherwise you're kind of looking for some type of Rakan engage. I don't think you take a flat... I feel like if you take a flat-out 5v5 right now, there's a high chance, I would say like 70% chance that you lose it based on Envy's advantage, who has the advantage, and the fact that they have a lot of kite back and protection. So if Cloud9 really want a chance at something, I feel like they have to get to the objective first, avoid Ashe Arrow, and then have the enemy team try to engage on them. But that still hasn't been working out for them either. If C9 are the ones who are being the aggressors, then it's just better for Envy.
That was close. Avoiding the Ashe Arrow, completed.
Step 1.
Put a check in that box for Cloud9, but now they've still got the rest of Envy's arsenal to deal with.
Yeah.
Spears are going to continue flying as long as they hang around within arm's reach.
Yep, and Impact transforms, so he's going to have to wait for his next Gnar bar rotation. Gonna try to stack it up here on this wave as soon as his cooldown for being exhausted is up.
Want to point out that Void Staff was completed for Nisqy about a minute ago as well, so the Cassiopeia damage going to be that much higher than it was in the previous fights the next time these two teams clash. Infernal picked up for Envy, ties up that Infernal count between the two sides.
Yeah.
The last Elemental Drake we see. Next one's Elder.
All right, so right now, Cloud9 are in a bad position. They have the way onto the Drake, or sorry, onto the Baron, but both their side waves are actually getting shoved in, so they have to kind of fight for mid priority here and then try to go for something. But baiting this area against an Ashe doesn't really work out because of Hawkshot. You have to go get your waves on that top side and potentially that bottom side too.
Cloud9 falling back through their own jungle through a path of control wards, making sure they're safe as they retreat up, clear away those side waves. They'll yield Baron control for now over to Team Envy. And Envy's really close to having a Gargoyle Stoneplate up on Seraph as well. And once you have that, that's what you were talking about last game. Nice jump away from Impact to avoid the arrow. But that Stoneplate and 2 health items is what you were talking about last game that takes those bruisers and turns them into heavy-duty tanks in the team fight.
Yeah, your bruisers become your tanks. Ashe Arrow, 56-second cooldown for Apollo now that he has the Essence Reaver. He has the 30% cooldown reduction, as well as level 16. So, still up a whole level over Sneaky. Now, I feel like they could start doing this Baron very shortly with the Cassiopeia.
Especially with how strong Nisqy is. 2, 1, and 5 on that Cassiopeia. 4 items completed. None of which are boots because Cassio can't buy those. So 4 big ticket items.
What? No boots?
No boots, Cass.
Yeah, well.
What's this guy doing?
Anyway, looking for another big ticket item for LirA though. It looks like it's going to be the Death Cap next. So he is just looking to... I talked about, you know, how he played Gragas last game, and it was, oh, get everybody else fed. It's like, now LirA gets fed. Yeah, make sure that he's fed. And he's highest level on his team. He's highest level in the game.
He did his time on tank duty. Now it's time for LirA to be LirA.
That's how it
carry
is.
pants.
I like that. I like that. You know, show that you can play a diverse style. I mean, there's a reason this guy was considered the #1 jungler in North America, because he was kind of carrying Envy through the mud a whole bunch. Last split to even get them 3 wins, but their early game was just so good. Happen again in this game. Oh,
arrow out. There it goes. The wombo combo, the damage, and Sneaky's gone before he can react at all. Don't worry, though, because Contractz will be keeping him company on the spawn platform. Black and white's the view for these guys for the next 45 seconds as Envy heads towards Baron.
Yeah, Impact's going to try to go and revisit that bottom lane. Remember, they took that tier 3 a long time ago, so they're going to go for that and try to trade something back. But this just gets obliterated, and they'll have the Baron-powered recalls. I don't feel like he's going to get that.
Yeah, Impact's working on it, but no, that's not happening at all. They're going to call him back.
Yeah, so when I was talking about how Envy are really good at the fact that they can disengage and like kite backwards with the Cassiopeia, it's actually something that I've even looked in this competition, and they've done it a few times. With their engage is so hard to avoid, even for somebody like Sneaky. Sure, the arrow hits and he had 2 ways to dodge it, but if something lands, doesn't matter if it's Jensen, doesn't matter if it's Sneaky, you're going to get hit by the CC. Seraph will go in with his Cataclysm, and then they're combining it with making a combo with the Cassiopeia Miasma, where you can't flash out of it, you can't mobility out of it, you're stuck in the Cataclysm, and you're going to get completely decimated by all of the skill shots and the damage going into you.
It's like an evil cauldron. It's just this big pot with all this purple goop
It's the
in it, and
miasma
you can't
cauldron.
get away from it. Yeah.
Yeah, even
Look at
Contractz
that.
gets stuck in there too, right? Grounded, stunned, now Smoothie's in there like, let me out, just get him out.
Nope.
Finally gets out, but Contractz grounded that entire time, and you're looking, he's like checking all the edges, like, where can I use
Is there
the ability
any way
from?
out of this? And the problem is there's not. Now Cloud9 has to find their way out of an even more dire situation. 6,000 gold down, another Baroned up Envy pressuring towards the turret.
I got it, it's the Catacauldron.
The Catacauldron. All right, I
Yeah.
dig it. I dig it. That's what we'll call it from now on. As Envy looks to end Cloud9 here. If Envy wins a 2-0 victory against Cloud9, even the people who would have predicted Envy to win this series, I think would have predicted a 2-1.
And they would have been like, oh, you know, maybe we give one back, our red side isn't that great, but look at this, the engage.
Here comes
Oh
the
my
engage.
God!
The massive ultimate is going to just shred Envy to pieces. 3 already dead, and Cloud9 finds exactly what they needed to bring this game back into the ballpark. Hakuho and Seraph have to try to escape, but the wall placement and timing could not be better. Jensen cuts him off, and one man is left standing.
Flowers, what have you done? The caster curse again.
What?
As soon as you say 2-1, baby, that might be exactly what happens here. C9 are going to keep pushing. There's 30 seconds on Apollo.
30 seconds on everyone on the side of Envy. The tier 2 will be taken away by Cloud9. Seraph is removing those minions, doing whatever he can to stop this game from ending, and it looks like it's just going to be in him for C9.
But this is going to work. Envy are going to stop. Seraph cutting the wave, nobody escorting it, is actually a misplay there from Cloud9. They got too eager to go in there. Gets back with a Baron empowered. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't.
No.
That was just the vision difference.
That was the fog of war.
Yeah, but Elder Dragon in 35 seconds. That's the big difference here, is that Envy died without using too many summoner spells, so they may actually be able to win this next fight. See this again, because Impact, that was a great charm setup. You saw right there the QSS happen from Apollo to try and get out, but the Rakan ultimate plus W combo is 2-part CC. It's a charm followed by a knock-up, so you get charm, he QSS's it, you have to flash immediately, or you get knocked up, and that's exactly what happened, is he ate the CC afterwards, because they brilliantly chained it. Great communication there from C9.
Yeah, Cloud9's execution on that could not have been better, and it made this game possible again as Contractz gets caught out right as the Elder Drake fight is going to be happening, but C9 decides to go for it anyway. Smoothie going to be taken low, but Sneaky's down first. Smoothie joins him, and 3 dead for Cloud9. Means Envy may look for the win here, especially if they can take Jensen out. Gargoyle Stone Plate for Seraph to keep him alive and allow him to tank this, but that's the hook they needed. Jensen goes down, the shutdown for Apollo, and Envy will make their victory march towards the base.
Yeah, they're going to try to go for the game here. I don't think Impact can do what Seraph did and cut the wave. They're going to go for it. They're going to push. They have so many members up here.
Hakuho stoning Impact away from this ever-valuable minion line. As long as they keep at least one of them alive to keep the backdoor protection off, Envy can keep this push going. 10 seconds on Contractz, 10 on Smoothie, 15 for Sneaky. That's the first damage threat that's going to be up. Nexus turret number 1 is gone. Nexus turret number 2 can say the same. And against all expectations, Envy will 2-0 Cloud9.
And Envy now move to a tie for 4th place. And over the halfway point of the split, they're in top 5 still.
What a showing from a team that placed 10th in spring. They changed their mid laner up. Improvement has been shown from everyone on the team over the course of this split, and now they have improved to being tied with the opponents they just defeated in Cloud9.
I gotta say, one of the most value pickups that I have seen in the NALCS, there's people saying like, you know, Bjergsen, Jensen. I think for Envy, LirA as a pickup has been phenomenal. This guy could pretty much play on any team, and you would be like, that's a really good jungler. He's on this team that was 10th. He was kind of that diamond in the rough, but everybody has stepped up around him, and now you can really see what this guy is made of.
And that's an interesting point, because at the end of last split, especially after LirA was voted #1 jungler for NALCS, a lot of people were saying, I wonder if LirA's going to join a different team. What's going to happen with LirA? Why doesn't this guy have a team that can play around him? And it's not that LirA joined a different team. LirA stayed on the same team, and they all stepped up, and they've started working as a unit, and they know how to play past the 20-minute mark. They were the ones that were behind, and they came back into this game.
And you were saying different team. It feels like a different team. You have a different mid laner. Apollo is playing out of his mind. And Hakuho, I feel like, is finally getting the recognition that he deserves because he has been very good for a very long time. And Seraph has also stepped up as well. It seems like he's being more of a team player. We used to think of him as the Jace, the Kennen, the guy who would play for himself in lane. They're winning games without Seraph having to win lane at all. In fact, losing lane, almost being a huge detriment in this game, starting off 0-2 and getting camped, losing his turret, but he ends up being able to play the team game, and that's the difference for Envy.
Yeah, Seraph got smashed in the early game this time around, but it did not matter. He stayed cool. He still did his job over the course of that game, and doing that made it so his team could work around that deficit, work around that disadvantage, and just find so much success.
And once again, I got to go over to the Cloud9 side, because game 1 ended with Jensen being 0-0-0. Jensen ends this game 5-1-3, and he didn't die until that final death there. He was the last person to die in the game on Cloud9's side, and that was just ridiculous. Like, he's playing these games with a 5-0-3 scoreline right before they lose.
And the most damage in the game. Don't forget that. Of course, it helps being on a champion like Taliyah, one of those long-range type of mages.
There's also late game Cassiopeia and stuff like that. So
right. It's not like it's a freebie. It's not like you're going up against a team of 5 Skarners that aren't going to be able to do any damage to you.
Always.
Yeah, I have to make my references. Come on now. But he still did an incredible amount of damage. He still did everything he could to carry the team. And there were performances by other members as well. Impact's huge ulti on top of the initiation from Smoothie was almost enough to bring the game back. But then Contractz getting caught out started the fight that allowed Envy to win the game.
Well, let's talk about the pick potential as well, because Hakuho, Apollo, we talked about how good they've been playing. Apollo's arrows constantly hitting Nisqy, who had 2 ways to dodge them multiple times, hitting Smoothie. And then we also had Hakuho fishing for those hooks and doing such a great job. This bottom lane is definitely slept on. They just took down C9's bottom lane in both games, and I think that that is huge for this team, because we used to be like, oh, Apollo's kind of consistent. You know, he's not going to be the guy who carries the game, but he's stepped up as a gigantic carry this split.
And not just Apollo, like you said, Hakuho, giving him a lot of credit.
Yeah, I feel like every time we talk about this, it's like this guy, and this guy,
and this guy, and this guy, and the other guy that's with him. Because if you look at that last fight and the results that happened from it, when Jensen's running away, and when you've got Impact running away, if you don't kill Jensen there, you don't end the game.
Yeah.
You just get the Elder Drake, and then the game keeps going on, and there's still the possibility you're going to lose. But that hook from Hakuho, making that clutch mechanical read in the moment to hook Jensen and lock him down, was what helped actually win them that game. Right.
And the other thing I really liked here from Envy too that I've seen improvement on is the draft. Because we've talked about how their drafts don't look coherent. How are they going to win this game? They brought in Pyrian, and it was like, oh, Taliyah wall helps them win games. That's really good. Then it kind of fell back down again. We're like, what are these drafts? Both of these games had really good drafts from Team Envy's side, where they had things like the winning mid lane for the Syndra, and now in this game, they had, you know, the Catacauldron and really hard ways to engage the fight as well as disengage. So all around, I feel like they've been playing quite well and drafting well.
Well, for a first-hand account on the series itself, let's hear from Xayah and the Envy top laner.
Thanks, guys. Great castle in the day. I'm here with Seraph after a good victory for you guys, 2-0 over Cloud9. A lot of people were not expecting that result, but you guys are now tied for 4th place. You know, how confident are you feeling going forward?
As a team, I think we improved so much, like compared to Spring's play. Obviously, at the time we were like 10th, and I think the main reason why is like we have a good mid laner. Like even is not one, we have a like good 2 mid laner, so we can switch mid laner any times.
So what is the difference between playing with the 2 mid laners? You know, is there a specific reason you bring one out for one match? Is it champion pool? Is it skill set? Or is it just kind of who's doing better week to week?
First time, I think both were same, because both doesn't really have experience as like on LCS. So they both didn't know like how to play as a team. But Pyrian, like obviously Nisqy has a visa problem. So Pyrian played with us like a month before Nisqy is coming. So Pyrian has a better knowledge with us and better team play. But I think Nisqy has like a better mechanic and better champion pool. So we just, I don't know. I think both are good.
Okay, so you know, you guys didn't go to Rift Rivals last week. Cloud9 did. You guys have had some time to prepare, you know, on the new patch. What do you guys think about the new patch, and do you think that having that time off to actually scrim helped you in your match today?
I think not really, because like maybe I don't know. Like we're just doing like no more scrims, so I don't really know.
All right, well, tomorrow you're going to be playing Echo Fox. You're already tied for 4th place, looking to continue to climb up the standings. How do you feel about that match?
Echo Fox, they're doing like 10-man rosters, so we don't really know like who's gonna come in tomorrow. But whoever's come, I think only one threat is like Frogan, because Frogan is a really good player and he'll always consistent, like he'll always carry. So as long as Frogan's not like playing tomorrow, then I think we're fine.
All right, well, I guess we'll find out. Thank you very much, and congratulations on the 2-0 victory. We're going to throw it back to the guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Zale. Envy moving to 6-5, actually tying up with C9 in the standings as they 2-0 here to kick off their weekend. So a great start here for Envy. And this is all in game 2 after being set behind with a lot of focus going towards that top lane, and Seraph specifically being, the receiver of all of that focus from both Contractz and Impact.
We saw it a little bit last game when it was the Rek'Sai and the Least, and it's this horrible dive comp that you always are terrified about as a top laner who survives it, takes a goal deficit, but there's such a thing as like losing gracefully and playing your role.
And he did it in game 1.
He did it in game 1. You have this situation where they're going to attack you aggressively. You just got to survive. Game 2 rolls around. Not quite the same story.
Not quite the same story. It's a kind of a peculiar thing because as we saw, first death comes through. Okay, fine. They did put that focus there. But then the TP onto the ward in the jungle, right on top of the opposing jungler, basically taking your whole health bar in damage and then getting killed yet again, now not having TP to return to the lane.
Right, so he doesn't take the safe path around, he gets chunked out, doesn't feel safe under his turret, very understandably. He's gonna need to teleport back here. And this is a split map situation because your jungler is very obviously invaded on the bot side. And this is the same thing as back when you had 2v1s back in the day. You just got to kind of take your lumps,
Right.
Like you are on the back foot. You have a split map. You will never be able to push up and lane and play aggressively. But for some reason, he teleports on top of Contractz to try and shove him off the Gromp here. It's such a greedy, ridiculous play when you have a wave coming in at your turret that you're giving up all that CS to take this fight on. And now you get yourself chunked out low again, and it's an easy dive for C9 to pull here. And it's completely offsetting. Completely offsetting the huge play that Hakuho just made for your bot lane.
And that's the thing, right? Is you have to understand that if you're getting focused on the top side, what does that mean? It means that the opposing team is investing resources into putting you behind. But that also means that you have resources freed up on your team to gain advantages elsewhere. So as you mentioned, you need to be able to lose gracefully while your team makes moves elsewhere to gain advantage and create a lopsided map.
It's just the playmaker mentality. Seraph is always known as being a playmaker, and this is an example when he couldn't just teleport under his turret, take his lumps. He wanted to go and try and extend the lead for his team. He's like, if I can harass this guy off Gromp, I can put him behind the jungler. LirA has an even bigger lead, and that's a great idea, but you have to understand the risk reward. The actual situation that you're in is you are completely destroying yourself in lane to take that risk, because as you saw, as soon as he falls behind, you're against a Gnar, you're against a Taliyah. They're gonna keep attacking you.
Right, so it's an unnecessary deficit to begin with. But to Seraph's credit, after those first 3 deaths, he pulls it back in. He only accumulates 1 or 2 more deaths throughout the entirety of the game from that point onward. But the point remains the same. We shouldn't be in this deficit to begin with. All right, but we are. And now I want to discuss how Envy finds their way back. And it's all, again, to do with picks. And a lot of them coming from that support position. With the introductions of Threshes, Rakans, and all these playmaking supports, we're seeing people like Hakuho really become stars on this team for being able to create fights and end up pulling the game back.
I mean, yeah, the saving grace in this is that while this stuff was going wrong on the top side, about the same effect was happening down the bot side, where they consistently made plays in the jungle on the blue buff and things like that, forcing them off that bot lane turret early on. And so you end up, you even saw that it was very close to actually getting first turret. It was barely taken for C9 first, and it was the kind of situation where if Hakuho, Apollo, and LirA were not all comboing together so well, this game would have fallen horribly out of control.
25 minutes in, Envy picks up a 3-for-0 plus a Baron. We're going to take a look at this one. Again, full 5v5 team fight. Hook misses for Hakuho, but the engagement here from Seraph is what they needed.
And yeah, to be fair, like you said, Seraph played this game out fairly well after the kind of catastrophe in the early game. He set up this initial pick off onto Sneaky. Sneaky did not have a good game at all, died really early on in a number of team fights. and what ends up happening after this one is they get this cleanup kill onto Impact. You've dropped 3 of them, and they're going to go for a Baron. But some of their team play issues still crop up. This was something that was a big problem for Envy last split, was their decision-making late game. They get the Baron, they send 2 or 3 down to contest the Elder while Seraph goes top and LirA recalls, and they end up
losing giving 2 more members.
Yeah, they give up a couple Baron buffs, they give up the Infernal Dragon, when just a single set call would have been the right thing to do.
And we talk about this with other teams. It's not specific to Envy. The likes of Team Liquid struggles with this. Echo Fox will struggle with this at times. It's great. You've learned how to secure the objective, but you have to know the next step, which is how do you play with the objective. Having the Baron buff does not win you the game.
Nope.
Knowing how to play with the Baron buff wins you the game. And walking into the enemy team 3 against 3 near a Drake is not the way you do it. There's no point in taking that fight. You either concede the Infernal, back together, and move out as 5, or you move as 5 down to the Infernal and you contest it. But it can't be anything in between. It's got to be one of the 2.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing, too, where if you lose the Infernal Dragon, it's not the end of the world. That's a trade, right? So if you just give that up, or you send everyone down there to force them off, do one of the 2. And just, like you said, same thing with Seraph when he's kind of giving up that thing on the top side. You know, you're going to be on the back foot. Give him the Infernal Dragon if you need to. Get a reset off, and then go use your Baron advantage.
Right, exactly. And here's the thing. And we're bringing all this up, and we're being critical because Envy is making a lot of intelligent moves. But for every intelligent move they make one intelligent one, which is just making the game harder for them. And it relies on things like this. 38 minutes into the game, you need a hook from Hakuho to kill the jungler and start off a fight. If we're not getting these picks, how would Envy have closed this game out? I don't know. The game would have extended.
I mean, that's the scary thing, is this is right after they got destroyed in the mid lane by a great engage out of Smoothie and Impact, and they lost their bottom inhibitor. So if they don't instantly get a nice situation like this where they get to pick off Contractz for free, who's way too ahead of the rest of his team, you potentially lose this game. But fortunately enough for them, they are able to capitalize.
Another great hook about to come up here onto Jensen, as was mentioned from the casters. If Jensen is still alive, they can probably stave off the ending of the game. But when they take that wave clear out, easy push here as 5 down to close it all out.
Yep, and great game out of Hakuho overall. Even that level 1 that we didn't show quite in the replay, when he chased out both members on the side of C9, got them really low, and set up LirA to get that counter invade in the bot side. It was just a really impressive game out of Hakuho, who's been really stepping up this split to be one of the top 3 supports in the league, I'd say.
Absolutely agree with that statement there. He will pick up player of the game, while Apollo receives an honorable mention. Again, doing a lot of work on the bot side of the map. The 2 of them together working in tandem have been phenomenal throughout this split. And then Hakuho, as an individual, has really, become a fantastic playmaker. While we discuss the conclusion of Envy versus C9, I've got to welcome those viewers from NALCS 2, where FlyQuest just 2-0'd Team Liquid to close out their day, moving to 4-8 as a total. We're going to quickly put final thoughts onto this this Envy series. C9,
Dropped to 6-5.
what's happening?
I mean, I think you could say the Rift Rivals performance, you look at the fact that TSM Smash looked amazing, P1 Smash looked amazing, C9 struggled, and they had some good games and some bad games. And once again, you come back here, and it's the same story, where if Jensen's not destroying the enemy team, they have a really, really hard time winning games. And Nisqy, we always talk about how he's probably the better individual player. You heard Seraph say it in the interview as well. He stepped up, he held Jensen in lane, went 1v1 pretty well, while the bot lane made a lot better plays early on. And Seraph, despite some falling behind in both games early on, did provide a great front line later in the game.
Right, C9 still not settled on a top laner. Doesn't look like they will anytime soon. But either way, Envy comes away with a sweet 2-0 to push themselves to 6-5, tied with many others on the top half of the standing. Now, let's talk about FlyQuest and their 2-0 over Team Liquid. I like that.
Yeah,
smooth change. Boom. The big thing here for me is, once again with Team Liquid, this is an emerging trend. I feel like they concede the game too often and too early when things aren't going their way.
It seems like this team doesn't have much fighting spirit. They know they're kind of a bottom-of-the-barrel team, that they've been struggling for wins, and that this roster was struggling last split as well. And as soon as something goes wrong, you can almost feel that moment where they go, oh, God, not again. And this time around, there was a bot lane play that they went for early on. They messed the dive up. Honori gets killed, and on the way out, Lorlo dies as well. They give up 2 kills. And off the back of that, the gold lead goes from all the way up to a 5,000 gold advantage. You get plus 5,000 gold in a 13-minute span with no extra kills.
So, just to give you a little bit more context, at 12 minutes and 12 seconds was the last kill. It was 2-2 at that time. There's not another kill in the game until 25:09. That's roughly 13 minutes. And in that time, FlyQuest extends their already existing lead another 5K. So over 13 minutes, they built an additional 5K gold advantage without getting a single kill. That's astronomical. It must at some point to Team Liquid conceding where they don't need to, and at some point being too gun shy and not taking a stab at winning a fight.
It's the thing that you don't think any play is going to work. You know that, like, oh, we're on the back foot, this isn't going to work, that's not going to work, and you never take that risk. And at some point, you need to pull the trigger, and they have plenty of tools to do so in this comp. You have Triss, Sejuani, Gnar, Braum, Ori. You have so many different
Plenty
ways
of engage.
Plenty of ways to start a fight off, and they just are on the back foot. They roll over and die, and they give away everything that's you want on the side of FlyQuest.
And we saw that glimmer of hope coming 31 minutes into the game. They got a 3-for-1 in the mid lane, and a lot of what I want to say when I see this is, why didn't this happen sooner? Again, right. You've given them the lead. Of course, now this isn't going to be enough to get you back in it. But if you make these aggressive plays sooner in the game, you might actually be able to gain more out of the one-team fight.
If you're not playing from such a deficit, and the one person you kind of have to give credit to, I think, is Piglet. He's someone who, while a lot of other people, it's hard to say, with communication, who's the one deciding to call off plays. Yeah. But Piglet does always tend to feel like the guy being aggressive. You saw this play start out with him basically charging down the mid lane. And even in game one, he had a pretty good game one. So Piglet still feels like he's performing to an extent, but the rest of the team, and even his place in that team, they don't synergize together that well at all.
A small victory there for Team Liquid in that fight. FlyQuest going to get the last say, though. 4-for-2 around the Baron will help them close out the game. We'll take a look at that one right now.
And this is, TL starting to, once again, try and force plays. They're at the Baron pit. They're burning it down low. They make the decision to turn off and try and focus it down. They go really heavily onto the front line, though, and they're getting chunked out by this Baron on the backside the entire time. Balls is able to melt a ton of the front line down using that Rumble pick, which he was actually super strong on this entire game. And the double 80 carry comp afterwards, able to clean up on a lot of these kills. Overall, I really like this kind of comp that we've seen out of C9 a couple times now with the Rumble Lucian.
I think FlyQuest.
Oh, excuse me, FlyQuest.
It's because of balls. So yeah, I got you.
Well, no, it's because we were just breaking down C9 a second ago, too.
Well, it was, and you know what? It was yesterday. It was when FlyQuest played CLG. We even saw balls solo killing Darshan. I mean, this guy, regardless of the fact that he's no longer undefeated on the champion like he was at one point in his history, this guy is still a top performer on Rumble and understands the mechanics of this champion to the T. And so it makes it exceedingly dangerous to disrespect him in those situations where he true dive or mis-execute in any way, shape, or form. If you don't 100% hit all your skills, balls will find a way to sneak a kill in.
And that's the thing, is you see the dive go onto him. It's not quite played right, and Ori backed off the turret a little too far. Probably could have traded 1-for-1 there instead, and it ends up having that you get no kills because you were trying to play efficiently, and Balls knows the limits of his champion better than you do. So it was a great play out of Balls, and on the whole side of FlyQuest, a really nice team victory in that sense, because you're not going to be able to snowball that effectively if not everyone's on the same page. So the fact that they did get a 5,000 gold lead, sure, you can point to TL not fighting back as hard as they should, but at least FlyQuest is working together to get that.
And that is the thing, right? We throw a lot of criticism at Team Liquid, but for every piece of criticism we can throw that way, we can applaud FlyQuest in another way. And I think something that I want to hit on is that we had that little piece with High where he talked about they were trying a lot of stuff. And part of what they were trying was him actually relieving some of his shot calling duties, focusing more on his individual play, but that caused them to lose some direction within the games themselves. And I will say, though against Team Liquid, our last place team, they did seem more directed in those leads. The fact that they can build a 5K lead without getting a kill does mean they were doing some good things as a team.
And they've kind of, over the course of the season, the last couple of weeks, I know there was a big gap week with the Rift Rivals, but they had started to figure out an identity where like late game seemed to be a little bit better for them. I believe it was Echo Fox they took a victory over recently as well, where it was another team that kind of struggles in the late game, and they picked for late game. And it feels like this is something that they can do semi-reliably. They do have good team fighting when it really comes down to it. The problem has always been that they tend to fall a little bit behind early on.
We had 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 today, right?
Fast day.
Boom, very quick day. So with all of our games wrapped up, let's go ahead and see how the standings have shifted. With CLG's loss today, the top of the table is looking closer and closer, with TSM and Immortals encroaching on that first place slot. Now, the middle of the standings doesn't look much clearer, as Team Envy, Cloud9, and Team Dignitas are all tied for 4th place. And of course, we'll be back again tomorrow to see what other changes we could witness. If you're tuning in on NALCS 1, Cloud9 take to the Rift opposite Immortals, then Double Lift and TSM face Piglet and Team Liquid in the Battle Arena. Over on NALCS 2, Team Dignitas return to the Battle Theater, this time opposite Phoenix 1, followed by Echo Fox versus Team Envy later in the day. Specific matchup you're looking at here tomorrow?
C9, gotta wonder how far these guys are gonna drop, because it doesn't get any easier tomorrow versus Immortals. And that's the scary thing, because with C9, you're kind of assuming that there's this world contending team after getting second place last split. But
right.
They're getting overpassed here by a lot of different teams.
Yeah, one of which is Dignitas here today, moving to 6-5. They have to play Phoenix 1 tomorrow. That's one I want to put a spotlight on, just again, because Phoenix 1 did suffer the loss to TSM today. But again, that's relatively expected. I don't want to knock them for the loss. Let's see how they rebound against a Dignitas that was able to break their four-match losing streak coming into this weekend.
And we want to see how Dignitas attacks the draft, because Shrimp and Mike Young actually have a relatively similar champion pool and style. So
yeah.
Whereas TSM banned Mike Young pretty heavily and forced him into more control matchups, that doesn't really play to exactly how Dignitas wants to utilize the jungler either. So we'll have to see if they opt into the same style or force them out of their comfort zone.
A bunch of 2-0 series today, hoping for some 2-1s tomorrow, but that's going to do it for us today. For myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for more North American LCS. Good night.
TSM goes up against Phoenix once now. After both teams had excellent performances at Rift Rivals, they now take to the Rift opposite one each other. He's a little bit more Spain able to fall with double, gets the first kill. And jumps back in towards Zeke to take him down. There's a triple kill. TSM clean up the team fight.
Okay. Hey, pick up the Breath Arrow. Pick it, get it.
Okay,
oh,
okay.
shit. Oh, shit. No! Please, you got it? Yeah, I got it. Oh, good job.
Able to lock up Ryu. There's the galley wall on top of it. Ryu goes down, and this is going to be a whitewash double lift forward onto Expert. We're going to get the pick. The ace almost completed, and a very strong sweep for TSM.
Satchel plans over. The flash for somebody kills him off regardless, and who he looks for the duel. Not going to find the win. He's going to get shut down. A double kill for Altec. Ooh, they're going to find damage on the Keen flashing away. He's still going to go down. Who he gets the damage. Tough Nunu with the big absolute zero. Going to put COG's health bars. Just that 3 kills picked up already. 6 are going to drop as well. A triple kill for Altec there. The attack in, the quadra kill for the new Team Dignitas bot lane starter. 30-minute victory. Team Dignitas 2-0.
Just look away, chat. Audience, everybody. It's not going to be a pretty one. Seraph gets jumped on, boomerang. He'll be knocked up into the air just momentarily. Impact will just stay permanently hastened from those hyper procs. Possible again as Contractz gets caught out right as the Elder Drake fight is going to be happening, but C9 decides to go for it anyway. Smoothie going to be taken low, but Sneaky's down first. Smoothie joins him, and 3 dead for Cloud9. And against all expectations, Envy will 2-0 Cloud9.
He drops, the Elder Drake goes down, it's grabbed by a Nori. A huge pickup if they can take down FlyQuest, stopping them from getting the triple Drake. High is going to be the next to go down. Piglet's on the outside with a Nori. It's enough of a tank. Has to be very careful in this situation, though. He goes down instantly, gets himself a little too hypey in this one, and gets locked down. FlyQuest will go 2-0 over Team LirA.